Yeah, it's been a fun journey, you know, and I think I'm very thankful for the success of the album and for the recognition that it's received, and for the band and for the compositions and all that's been involved. But yeah, it's a continuing process. I really enjoy the daily work of practicing and learning music and listening and collaborating with other musicians. It's an ongoing thing, and it's always a pleasure.
It's it cannot. There are times where it's not lucrative to be an artist. I'm sure you understand that. You're a little more fortunate than others that people are noticing the music that you're making. But that doesn't come without that hard work. So, you know, what drives you? Because clearly you can be a poor person for a very long time.
Yeah, I think it's the music itself that drives me, because it's a fascinating thing to be able to make music and make music with others, and to do that in a collaborative setting and an improvisational setting where things are always changing and things are always different. That's really exciting for me, and jazz music in particular is a real love for me, and it never ceases to amaze me. I can come back to my favorite recordings year after year, day after day, and find something new inside of them. So it's a continual kind of fascination, and that's never going to get old for me.
Talk to me about Montreal, because this this is a game changer, I'm sure, for the career that you have.
It is. I mean, the festival itself has such a storied history, you know, Canadian in Canada and internationally too. So it was a real honor to be able to get to perform there, first of all, because I'd never had an opportunity to do that before. And when I found out that I was selected to be one of the 10 bands that were part of this competition for the Grand Prix at the festival, that was an honor as well, because I had no idea that was something that they nominated artists for themselves. So to be part of that in amongst 9 other great Canadian groups was a real honor. And then when I found out about the composition prize that I won for the tunes, that was a great surprise and a tremendous honor as well. I got to meet some of the judges and people who were involved with the competition, and they had many kind words to say. And of course, I got to be interviewed and have the music featured during the festival, which was a wonderful opportunity as well. So it's just a unique place, because Montreal has such a name in the world, and it was a lovely opportunity. So.
The jazz world is a small world too, at that. How difficult is it, I guess, to get noticed, because it is a small world, but it's a collaborative world? I mean, how do you rise to that? Oh, you know, Shirantha's name is now on the tips of everybody's tongue that's taking in jazz.
Well, I mean, I don't know how much it is, but I mean, I think what Terence Blanchard, great trumpet player from New York, he came to Humber a couple of years ago and as a guest artist, and he said something that I think was very valuable, because he's known as a trumpet player but also as a film composer. He's done all of Spike Lee's movies and all of like 40, 50 Hollywood films, and he said, you know, everybody gets their shot, you just have to be ready. And I think that's one of those interesting things that I try to bear in mind, is that, you know, you continually have to be prepared for whatever situation comes your way. And I certainly haven't risen anywhere near that level of international kind of fame and name recognition that he has. But I think it's the idea that you always have to be ready keeps you on your toes. And when those opportunities do come for recognition, it's wonderful to have them. But for me, it's always about what's next, right? It's not necessarily about today, it's about what's happening tomorrow. So it inspires me to keep going towards whatever that next level is.
Did you think you would be here? I mean, I can't help but think, you know, a kid from North Bay sitting in a high school band, or, you know, Toros, or all those those venues that you were playing at that point. Did you know at that point that this is the career I want?
No, not at that point in time. I mean, I was pretty set on going the med school route. I did a part of an undergrad in biology, and I was kind of headed in that direction. And at a certain point, I decided, well, you know, I needed to put the time in to really pursue music fully. and not do it part of the time. I wanted to do it all the time because I knew I needed to put that time in, because that's really what it's about. It's like I needed to pursue it 100%. And so no, I had no idea which opportunities would come as a result of doing it. I just knew that I wanted to pursue it, and so no, I had no idea that you know, however many years later after leaving high school, that I would be playing at the Montreal Jazz Fest or any of these things or getting a Juno nomination. It was just, that was never something that I would have imagined. So.
And you left North Bay, you did your undergrad, but then you went to Rochester, which, you know, some people go, Rochester, that's kind of off the beaten path, but your friend of mine, Gary Smiler, had a hand in this.
Yes, he did. Yeah, well, Gary came before that, because when I first moved to the States, I moved to New Jersey, just outside of New York City, and part of the reason was to go study with Gary Smulyan, one of the great baritone players of our time, and so that was a wonderful opportunity. Got to interact with lots of New York musicians, and then once that had finished, I had my master's degree there. He had a hand in suggesting and recommending, and some of the other teachers as well, that I pursue a doctorate at the Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York. So Rochester is a smaller city, you know, in terms of American cities, but Eastman is a big part of that town, and it always has been. So the music school has a tremendous reputation worldwide, and I had an opportunity to study with some great people there. And so it wasn't so much the town as it was the school that I was going to take advantage of, and that was a big part in my development too. I got to have my first real teaching experience there as well, which was a big step for me, because that's also part of my career path at the moment, is being a full-time teacher during the school year.
Certainly, that is, and you're, I would say, lucky and fortunate enough to be able to live the world of music and teach it. You know, do we see? I guess, what do we see out of the youth in Ontario and in Canada and worldwide coming up through the ranks at the level that you're teaching?
You know, I think the nice thing to see is that they are really hungry for the music, and I think they always have been. You know, the students that I interact with, they're talented, but there's a lot of talented people in the world. I think what defines these kids is that they're really driven, and the desire to pursue it wholeheartedly and give 100%, even when it's really challenging, even when the circumstances aren't the best, when you know, you might be having a hard time or whatever it is, to just keep at it and keep improving yourself is really what I see. I mean, the cool thing about the music scene in Canada, and especially in Toronto, is that there's a real sense of diversity. You know, I mean, Toronto is one of the most diverse musical cities on the planet, and I think you really see that in the music scene in Toronto. There's so many different pockets of music, and so the students at Humber get an opportunity to be exposed to not just you know, jazz from a certain particular time period, but also interesting collaborations and hybridizations of jazz and Indian and African music and pop and fusion and salsa and Latin styles and all these different things. And that's really kind of what Toronto is. It's a melting pot. It's like a small New York. You know?
Certainly. And talking about collaboration, is there someone, you know, as you say, you're always looking to the future. Are there names there that you want to work with and collaborate with and maybe do another album with?
Oh wow, that's a long list. I mean, I think that there'd be many folks in the New York area that I would love to work with at some point in time. Many drummers, some of my favorite drummers live in the city, and also in Toronto for that matter. I mean, right now my focus is on developing collaborations with people that I can work with a lot. Friends, colleagues, you know, people that I teach with at Humber. They are some of the most tremendously talented and gifted musicians on the planet. And I would rather, at this point in time, continue to pursue things with them and develop musical relationships with those people. And then in the future, we'll see. I mean, I think I would love to do some more large ensemble projects. There are some singers and horn players in Toronto that I would love to collaborate at another point in time. But right now, I think my sights are set on really fostering what I've got going on with my own band.
And there's a real future in jazz for you. I mean, when people think, oh, I'm going to be a musician, pop culture comes to play, and that's where everybody wants to break in. Not a lot of people say, oh, I want to play jazz. Is there a lifelong career there?
You know, I think there is if you love it enough. You know, it's like any relationship. You know, you commit to it at a certain point, and you know you're in it for life. You know, and that's kind of what it is with the music for me. It's because I know that when I'm 70 or 80 years old, I'm going to be able to get as much joy out of listening and playing the music as I do right now. I mean, that's enough motivation for me to keep pursuing it for the rest of my life. And there's a lot of pop music that I love. There's a tremendous number of musicians that I respect and admire and that I continue to listen to their music. But really, the passion for me is jazz music, and that's how it's always going to be, I'm sure.
What inspires you? I know it's such a cliche question, but I mean, when you wake up and you think, this song, I have to get it down, or I have to, you know, fine tweak it. What is it that drives you to that point? What inspires you?
I think it's curiosity more than anything else. And when I listen to a piece of music and I want to figure out what's happening there, or I listen to a particular soloist and they play something that I don't understand, that's enough, really, because all I want to do is understand it. And so that drives me to try and get my hands dirty and figure it out. And then when I figure it out, and I can try to learn it on my instrument and try to imitate it and do what I can with it and make it my own, then it's mine. And then what's next? You know, so that continual pursuit of finding new stuff to learn is what drives me. And then, you know, on a compositional side, I think what drives me is the knowledge that when I put a song in front of the hands of people who are capable, they'll be able to do something with it that I never would have imagined. You know, there's some songs on my new record, the one that people keep talking about is called Baker's Dozen, which is, you know, it's a fun tune, but when I wrote the tune, it was kind of an agonizing process. It didn't come very easily. It took weeks and weeks and weeks, and there's really not that much to it. And when I wrote the tune, even on the recording session when we did it, I thought, I don't know, this is going to be, we'll see, you know. And we'd never rehearsed, the band had never seen the tune before. On the day that we recorded it, it was just, they were sight reading it, and I had my doubts until they started playing it, and then I realized, okay, I think there's something to this, and they brought it to life in a way that I couldn't have expected. So that's exciting.
Certainly. Mm-hmm. And coming home, North Bay, does it ground you?
It does, it does. I mean, I grew up here, and my parents are still here, and I still have some friends and teachers that are here, and it's always nice to be able to come home, and the pace in North Bay is very nice and relaxed, and I like to be able to just sit and enjoy time with family, and it's very nice. It's always good to come back.